Clear eyes, full hearts, can't. Oh, wait, wrong football movie. This week we've got Gary and Julius, Petey dropping the ball, sunshine with the hair flip, and the kind of speeches that make you want to run through a brick wall. It's Remember the Titans. Welcome to the No More Late Fees podcast. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Danielle, and we're just two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees rewatching some of the best and worst movies of the late 90s and early 2000s. This week, we're huddling up for 2000's Remember the Titans. And just keep in mind, Jackie and I and sports, not so great. So have patience. Have patience. But before we dive in, let's get into some housekeeping. If you love the podcast and you want to support us, here's a few ways that you can.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We've got plenty more deep dives into your favorite Y2K movies coming up.
If you love the podcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Your reviews help us grow and keep the nostalgia alive.
And if you want to show off your love for nostalgia, check out our No More Late Fees merch at nomorelateFees.redbubble.com. From movie-inspired designs to podcast swag, we've got something for every movie lover.
And this week, we're not hitting the field alone. Thank God, because as I said, Jackie and I, sports, not our main factor over here. So we've got David, my good friend, coming back.
Don't mind me. I'm just doing some housekeeping.
I love that you bring props with you.
I love it. He sends us gifts and brings props.
Yes, I am your assistant coach for today to help you with all of your sports terminology.
Great. Break. That's a term, I think. If you want to get to know David better, check out our Bad Santa episode with him and this week's bonus episode where we guess inspirational movie quotes and hear David's employee picks. All right, Jackie, let's get into Remember the Titans.
Okay.
What's it about?
In 1971, Virginia, the newly integrated T.C. Williams High School football team becomes the epicenter of a town's racial tension. Herman Boone, played by Denzel Washington, a tough, no-nonsense black coach, is hired to lead the team, replacing the beloved white coach Bill Yost, played by Will Patton. What starts as a clash of egos and racial divides soon transforms into a brotherhood forged on the field. Through grueling practices, tense bus rides, and Friday night lights, the Titans discover that football is more than a game. It's a fight for respect, unity, and change. It stars Denzel Washington, Will Patton, Wood Harris, Ryan Hurst, Donald Faison, Craig Kirkwood, Ethan Suplee, Hayden Panettiere, and Kate Bosworth. It was written by Gregory Allen Howard, directed by Bose Yakin, and you can currently watch it on Disney+. But before we start, let's get into our ratings rewind.
I wish I had a whistle to blow right here.
You could do what Roy Kent does and just yell whistle.
Whistle! So you know the drill. Before we get into the movie, we'll reveal the rating our Y2K versions of ourselves would give. Then at the end, we'll see if our current selves agree with our initial rating. Our scale consists of would buy it again.
The best would play on repeat.
5-day rental.
Would watch again.
2-day rental.
Okay, but nothing to write home about.
And same-day rental.
Trash. Straight up dumpster fire trash.
Punt it through the uprights.
All right, David, we'll start with you. What's your Y2K rating?
Well, I definitely owned it. So it was definitely a would buy for me back in the day.
Jackie?
It was also a would buy for me. It was in the heyday of Blockbuster, my Blockbuster discount, and being able to purchase things previously owned.
I do miss that.
I do too.
And I do own it myself, so it's a would buy as well.
Nice.
All right, across the board.
Oh, The one thing I will say, rewatching this, and I am going to try to keep it as light as I possibly can because I've seen this movie a million times, but I haven't watched it in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I viscerally was very angry, cried a lot, and out of all the movies that are out there that I've seen that talk about race, this is like kids play
Yeah.
in that spectrum, like from this to Rosewood, from this to Roots, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it just, I don't know if just like everything that's happening and just being an adult now and
Mm-hmm.
realizing made it very difficult for
It was
me.
very much a white savior movie.
Yeah, but yes. Yes, especially when we start getting into the facts and we start talking about that this movie is very fictional.
Yeah.
Like, very. But no, I think it was just scratching at just so many different things for me. And it really was a hard watch. And I said to myself, like, I know it's important for us to talk about these kind of movies, but I don't know how many more of these kind of movies do I even want to do on this show
Yeah.
because it just felt like emotional for me. And I didn't expect that, like, because I've always thought this movie was such a heartwarming movie.
Yeah. Well, and like the fact that it's based on a true story, it's based on Coach Boone's story,
Mhm.
but somehow it's told from the narrative of the little white girl.
Yeah. It
Fucking wild.
there's a there's a lot. I can't wait till we get it.
Yeah. Well, tell us
Oh
about
man.
the box office so
So
we can jump in.
this movie had a budget of $30 million and it made $136.7 million. So it did numbers. It debuted at number one in the box office, grossing almost $21 million in just its opening weekend. So it almost made its whole budget back in the first weekend, which is insane.
Mhm.
Lil Raj, let's hear what he has to say. He has not been doing well for us lately. He praised the movie's uplifting message and Denzel Washington's commanding performance, but noted that the film glides over some of the more complex realities of race relations, presenting them as in a simplified manner, Hollywood-friendly way. He described it as a parable about racial harmony yoked to the formula of a sports movie, observing that sometimes the victories over racism and the victories on the field were blended together so tightly that audiences weren't sure which one they were cheering for. You know what, Lil Raj? Finally, you can come sit back at the adult table because
Very nice.
you were sitting by the trash can like it's sleepover in my
Yeah.
head.
Eating lunch by the dumpster. Well, before we jump in, because we have a lot to say, let's hear a message from our pod pals.
What's up? I'm E, former Little Lebowski urban achiever.
And I'm McGee, the man behind the lens of all your favorite perfume commercials.
And you're tuned in to Make Me Watch.
It's a podcast where two failed filmmakers force one another to have a conversation about a movie, whether they like it or not.
Or if you've never seen the film, bet neither have one of us. You can still follow along our exit interview where we ask the titular question, why did you make me watch this?
As we try to convince each other, you, and maybe ourselves as to why we needed to see this.
And in every episode with, what are you going to make me watch next week?
Catch us Fridays wherever you get your podcast.
Make me watch.
Where we're going, you don't need headphones.
I liked it.
So, cast and crew. Denzel was the first and only choice to play Coach Herman Boone. Avi did fantastic. I will say the acting in this, even from like the players, was outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, Will Patton, who played Coach Yost, he was not interested, but later signed on because of the chance to work opposite of Denzel, obviously.
Smart man.
Yeah.
This movie also launched the careers of Ryan Gosling, Hayden Panettiere, who was Coach's daughter, Cheryl Yost.
Okay. Coach Yost, so I guess on the DVD commentary,
hmm
both coaches were able to talk about the reality versus the movie. And Coach Yost was actually upset at the fact that he has three daughters, not
Mhm.
one, and
Hmm.
and his daughters live with their mom, and just like the characterization of this child
So
really
she
wasn't
was
his,
fiction.
pretty
Right.
much, yeah. And
She was a fun character.
she couldn't argue with it, the real life Cheryl, because she was dead in real
Oh
life. She
man.
had passed away. Her other sisters gave permission, like they were fine because, you know, they didn't mind that they weren't included, I guess.
hmm
So they gave their permission, but the dad was not loving it so much. Also, in real life, Coach Yost, he was getting down with some of the players' moms. Like he was
Oh,
dating some of the
that's
I
why they
don't know
wanted
if
to keep him as coach.
I don't know if it
Yep.
was multiple. I think all I knew was one, but I thought that was a fun fact that I read in context because it was like player so and so who dated one lady who was the mother of blah 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 who
hmm
dated Coach Yo. So I was like, okay.
Well, speaking of Ryan Gosling, he almost didn't land his role. He was cast because the director thought his offbeat, quirky personality would lighten the film's heavy tone.
He was kind of funny seeing him in football pads. He looked so small compared to everybody else.
He looked goofy as hell in this movie.
There were
Yeah.
a couple of people that I was like, oh,
Yeah. It's a
Nicole
Oh
Ari
yeah.
stack.
Parker, you're here?
This cast is
Yep.
stacked.
It
Yes,
is.
And I want to know the ages because Nicole Ari Parker, I feel was way younger than Denzel at this time.
probably.
I don't know. Wood Harris, who's like one of my favorites, he was nearly passed over, but he impressed the director with his intensity during auditions. He's such a freaking good actor. Have you seen Paid in Full? Classic. And his
Denzel is
brother's an
16
actor.
years older than
Yeah,
Nicole Ari
exactly.
Parker.
I knew
Yeah.
it.
Him and Gary, I mean, them back and forth the entire film. It was great.
Yeah. Who's Wood
So
Harris's
after Boaz Yakin was hired to direct the movie, producer Jerry Bruckheimer learned that Yakin did not know anything about American football. He then arranged for Yakin to attend a football camp where he picked up enough information in 2 weeks to resume full speed work afterward. Okay, I've been watching football now for 3 years. I still just I know which end zone they're supposed to be in, and that's about it. Downs, don't know her, girl. Like, I don't know. I'm here for vibes.
Lord, we got to send you to football camp.
Out of all the sports, I would say I'm probably better with football than anything else. And that's because I went to the camp of Candace and Shayla in college because there was no choice of not watching football in college. And so, yeah, they were better at teaching me than my dad. Like my dad
Ah,
never had any guy that I tried to ask to teach me. David would probably teach me pretty well too, but every other guy would be like not having patience to like teach me at all.
yeah. I'm a
What's that
baseball
doohickey
gal
over there?
myself.
Yeah, you know baseball puts me right to sleep. Just like your daddy at the end of the night watching baseball, just sleep on that
End of the
couch.
night, first
First
inning.
day. Every time I would come over to Jackie's house and her dad was there, he was watching baseball, passed out, sleeping.
Oh boy.
And
Sounds
then
like
if
my
you
dad
tried
watching soccer.
and if you tried changing the channel, he would immediately wake up. I
I'm
was watching
awake.
that. I was
Yes.
like, bro, you were snoring.
My dad would get upset if because he would make me come and watch the soccer game with him. He would pass out. I would try and get up and walk away. And sure enough, he would wake up and ask me where I'm going. Oh my God. The good old days.
Very sad that, but nice to commiserate that this is officially the Dead Daddies Club
Yeah.
meeting together, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yes, My dad would fall asleep with the remote on his belly, and you would just see, like, so me and my siblings would try to like grab it. He wouldn't wake up if we changed the channel, though. Like, he'd be passed out.
You're so lucky.
Jelly.
All right, so I do like I we be I before we get into this movie, I do want to talk about what was fictional, and what was real,
Okay.
because I feel like we were lied to.
Yes. In the promotion and for 20
Ev-
years, 25
Every
years now.
one thing that hit me rewatching this was the music. So I feel like the writer and the production, whatever, wanted this movie to be in 1960s so bad.
Yep.
This movie's supposed to take place in 1971, Alexandria, Virginia. They played a the songs they were playing, not that people weren't listening to it, but it's 1971. Why are we listening to a Temptation song from 1963 and 65? Why? Like, it was weird. Also, the school was integrated in the 60s. By the time the 1971 season came about, they were a fully integrated school. And not only were they fully integrated, so were all the other teams they played.
Okay, so I mean
So,
that's a fact that was contrary because they said that
right,
all the other schools were just white players.
lies. So I think what they really wanted to do was tell a story about overcoming the racial divide and having a team bring together this community that was like boiling over. I don't know if they couldn't find an example and they decided to put all these elements together, but many people said at that point the community had already started to like, they were already integrated. It wasn't like fully like perfect, and the team did help the community really come together, but also this team was not an underdog at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were kicking ass. The team members said that they almost felt sorry for the other teams when they were playing. They had already been winning,
Yeah,
so it's just like
I did some research that showed me that they had 15 winning seasons with Coach Yotes even before this film.
yeah. So, and then they were saying a lot of the things, the fighting that were seeming like racial divides were really ego based.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it wasn't an integration, it was, I think, the closing of two other schools. And so three schools were coming together. And so people were fighting for their roles on the team. That is what was causing a lot of the friction, not necessarily the racial stuff. And again, not to say everything was roses and daisies at that point, but it definitely wasn't like the first motivation. There were other things happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And the real players said that the team bonded way more quickly than was shown on screen. They
Yeah.
kind of got over their egos quicker than what was depicted.
The coach that Coach Yost was like friends with, he brought on, that left because of, racial issues.
Yeah.
He was not he's a fictional character. So is the character that gets kicked off. What's that guy's name?
Oh, the teammate.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't remember
Uh,
his name.
tell you in a second.
Jerry's friend.
Yeah.
Yep,
He,
his best friend
yeah,
on the team.
he is a fictional character. Jerry's girlfriend Emma is a fictional character.
Mm.
He had a different girlfriend in real life. They broke up after state, I think, or
Mm-hmm.
something. But they broke up because he had too many girlfriends.
Oh, oh,
He was out
Jerry.
there. Jerry was out there slinging that thing. So so Emma was like a bunch of different personalities or attributes or whatever, but she was not a real person.
So Ray was his best
Yes.
friend. And then the other coach, they were all like all of their opinions were just racist, and there were such sharp opinions comparatively to everybody that was starting to come together.
Mm-hmm.
So like all of these fictional characters they were all the bad guys
Yeah.
probably creating that tension.
Yeah, which makes sense because it's like if it's I noticed that like a lot one of the things I think after the civil rights movement, like when everything happened, I really think people should have went back in those pictures when people were boycotting the integrations, when the kids were like all the things, you see at the pools where they were throwing bleach and lye at
Acid,
people
yeah.
and acid. They should have taken those pictures and found out who those people were and put them on blast.
Doxing
Thank
before
you. They
doxing
should have
was a
doxed
thing.
them back
Yeah.
then. Yeah. Because,
How else do you teach a lesson?
right.
Yeah.
But I think making these characters fictional can, so you're not saying because these are real people, you don't have to say this person was a shithead, this person
Yeah.
was a shithead, this person was a shithead.
It would tie the production companies up in probably litigation
Legal.
and
Yeah.
like defamation suits and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
So yeah, let's jump in. So the movie opens, it was really weird. This rewatching was very odd for me because growing up, like you said, Danielle, this movie was kind of like the epitome of like overcoming racial issues and coming together as a team. And by the end, everyone's friends and everything's good. And like, racism, what? And like on the rewatch, you're just like, this is not real life.
Mm.
This is a lot of dramatization. It's told from the point of view of the little white girl, and Jerry is the main focus as the white quarterback. I just think
Nope.
it could have
Team
been.
captain. He was on the defensive side. He was a team captain, but he
Oh,
wasn't the
thank you.
quarterback.
Okay, see, sports.
I was like right there with you. Even though I know it was Red and Sunshine, I slipped my mind. I was like, quarterback, yo.
He played a
I support my
position.
girls' rights and wrongs.
I need my whistle every time I need to correct
Yes.
a sports reference.
Whistle.
Flag on the play.
Yeah.
They say that, right?
Let's watch the tape.
So it just like on the rewatch. First off, I felt like they overused music in they were throwing in music just to throw in music, and I was like, we don't need this whole like this soundtrack is too much. And it doesn't fit with the flow of the movie, in my opinion.
I was getting so irritated and cringed the fuck out by the character of Blue when you talk about music and him just breaking out into song. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, yes, as Black people, we love a good song. We love to dance. We love to have fun. But why is this man singing every 10 seconds, breaking out into song? And
Spectrum, Danielle.
I don't know what
that
it
was his special interest.
Maybe, yes, as the character, I could say that. But to me, it just felt like white people saying, you know, it'd be great, let him sing. And it's funny because Julius says, I don't shut up, be quiet, and I'm not down for your minstrel show. And all the times that I've seen this movie, I've never caught that line. And I was like, yes, exactly. That's what it feels like. It feels like this production unnecessarily.
It feels like it had glimpses of like what it could have been to tell a true story of racism and social injustice. But then like they would like touch it and be like, "Oh, it's Disney. That's hot. We got to walk away." Like
Let's
it
have
just
fun and sing a song.
Yeah, exactly. Or just like, now we're best friends. It's fine. But like one of the scenes that really resonated to me, and like I didn't understand the weight of it when I saw it as a youth, was the scene where, was it Sunshine that was like, let's go into this restaurant? Who was it?
It was Sunshine,
Yeah,
Yes.
and he's like, no, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. And it's just like that coming from a place of white privilege and just being like, why wouldn't we be able to eat in here? And then as the black players, like the very obviously racist shop owner is like, no, you can get your food around back. I'm like,
which
it's not something that like as a white person I thought about as a young person, and because I had that privilege, but now it's like something that I consciously think about being around my friends that don't have that privilege and just making sure they're always in a safe space and not inadvertently leading them into spaces that may be dangerous.
the funny thing is, one, that is also a thing, a narrative that did not happen. Everybody, the player said that scene at the restaurant never happened, and that restaurant would never have that. Again, this is something that would have happened in the 60s,
Yes.
where you see that black people would have to come to, if they came to a white restaurant, which why would you go to a white restaurant?
Maybe you were sick and just needed some bland chicken.
Doubtful. They would have to go to the back.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had to keep rewinding. I was like, this took place in 71. Now I know there are places in the South that still were way behind, but a lot of people were saying that Alexandria at the time was a little bit more progressive than some of the other parts of Virginia. So it was just like not making sense. But you're right. The sunshine thing was super weird because I can understand he's from California and it may not be as bad
Yeah.
as in the South. Also, they said that he didn't show up late to camp. Like, camp happened the last 2 weeks towards the end of August, and they had already been practicing for the whole time. So that was also another weird inaccuracy. So I'll give him a pass in the sense that he's from California, not understanding the politics. But at this point, he should have been living in this city for a long enough time to know that
And also know your friends well enough that they
if
know
they're
what
saying no.
spaces they are not welcome in.
Right.
He was just clueless. He had
Yeah.
no idea.
But yeah, but he did put them in a situation. When Jackie and I were driving from Florida to Texas, we were talking about trying to be mindful of the places to where we were going to stop and all this other stuff. And I remember like people like, what do you mean? Why would you need to do that? I'm like, in this day, in the 2025, to all the people who pretend and want to believe that racism is gone, I guess. I don't know what delusion that is, but there are still sundown towns. There are
Yes.
places that if I show up after the sun is down, that my life is in danger. Like I can't be there physically
Yeah.
without my life potentially being in some hot water.
Yeah. And during that trip, because as just a female and driving from Texas to Florida by myself sometimes, I have to be aware of like where I stop, what time of day I stop, plan my gas stops accordingly. If I pull over to sleep, I always pull over like at a specific, very well lit rest stop that I know it has heavy surveillance and people all around and stuff. But then it was that extra layer knowing I was traveling with Danielle and like these towns do exist, and being even more mindful and more planning of like, okay, if we stop for gas in Tallahassee, that'll get us to X place. And then that will be, and time of day, well, it'll be during the day and we can stop and fill up, and that will get us to Texas or whatever. But it was, yeah, it was strategically planning, and it's like, yeah, these places do exist. And for anyone that like denies that, it's just your privilege allows you not to have to think about that.
Yeah, that's why there's a Green Book still. So, like, the Green Book movie, which is another one of these kind of Remember
Yeah.
the Titans movies where it's just fictional bullshit. But they had to make a Green Book so that when Black people were traveling across the country, they knew places that were safe for them to go, motels, gas stations, cities where they would be able to stop going, so they'd be safe. And
Yeah.
to this day, Green Book is still updated that you can look at this because it still happens, which is insane.
It really is.
Sad,
So,
sad to think about.
yeah, definitely. So
Back.
the movie opens with everyone gathering at a funeral. The narrator is an older Cheryl Yost, the white coach's daughter, and she kind of tiptoes around the importance of the person who has passed away and how he has brought the team back together. So we quickly find out that, like you said, in this fictional land, Alexandria is newly integrated, and so they're combining a black high school and a white high school. And obviously, they each have their own football team and coaches. And so,
Oh,
There's
what's causing the anger and the unrest is not just the integration. A local black teenager was shot by a white store owner. So tensions in the city are very, very high. And then on top of that, we have the integration of the school, quote unquote, supposedly. So Coach Boone is coming into town to be the assistant coach, apparently. Another thing is that they say that he came straight from North Carolina, but in real life, he had been in the town for over a year. So that was another thing.
one of the things I want to mention from that store owner. It showed a quick clip of Coach Yost with his team. They were practicing, and then it was Ryan Gosling, character named Alan,
He's always
came by.
delivering the news.
He's coming saying they're coming over our way and blah blah blah, and they all round up and they start bolting towards where the chaos is, and Coach intervened. Coach Yost didn't allow them to get involved in that. So from the beginning, you can kind of see that Coach Yost wants his team to be completely separated from what is going on in the town.
I truly think that this movie centers the journey of a white person overcoming racism within themselves, learning that they need to kind of take a stance because Coach Yost truly believes, and I feel like a lot of a lot of liberals, and maybe people who don't even go on that side, really truly believe that they aren't bad people and that they're not racist, and that's enough. Like it's enough. Like they're nice, good people and they mind their business. But I think the evilness about racism is that you can never just be on the surface and like, okay, you have to be radically anti-racist. And I think for a lot of people, white, non-white, that's a very hard thing to do because that puts you in a very uncomfortable place.
Yes.
And it's really funny the juxtaposition between that and being black and facing the racism. So much of the work ends up feeling like it has to be on our end to make other people feel comfortable when we're constantly being placed in uncomfortable situations and there's never that here, let me take the burden off of you. And that's really what it means to be in community and to be anti-racist is to take your privilege and to put it in that place to make it less uncomfortable for the person having to burden it, that whole feeling of racism and stress and all that goes with it. So he comes into this situation thinking that he's not that bad of a guy, and he's looking at his white counterparts, seeing how absolutely ridiculous they are. He knows deep down it's not right, but he never says, yo, fucking chill.
Yeah.
Or don't do that. He just says, okay, everybody calm down. So he participates in it, but then it's like throwing a rock and hiding your hand. And he does that throughout the entire movie until one scene, and we'll talk about it. And I find that very interesting that this is what the core of this movie is. We don't see what it's like for Coach Herman Boone, what his struggles are like, him crying, his family crying, them being paranoid or stressed of or what it's like for him as much. You know, he
Yeah.
comes in supposedly just from the story because we know it's not all of it's not real. We don't get that for like that point of view of how hard it is for him and his family to go through it. We just see it from the other coach's eyes.
And I think that's the frustrating part because I think there are stories that could be told about unlearning your privilege and bias and becoming radically anti-racist. I think that there are ways to portray that, but this story in particular, knowing that the text it was based off of was based off of the life of Coach Boone, the black coach. And somehow we have turned the narrative so it's more about his white counterpart. Like it just didn't make sense in this context. And I think this movie could have been a really wonderful portrayal of the struggles of like post integration and still people unwilling to change and learn and grow and living in towns that did not adapt to like anti-racist thinking as quickly as other towns. Like I think his story I just feel bad for Coach Boone because I feel like his story should have been front and center.
He also talked in the DVD commentary, he also talked about how, you know, obviously Denzel did a great job
Yeah.
portraying him, but the way that his character was written, he felt like it just was, he's like, I'm actually pretty funny and fun, and I was very stern, but I was way more well-rounded. And I think the portrayals of Black people in media were even like, you know, I could throw Love Island in here any day. You can see that in what's happening to Shelley and Orlandria, which is that the editors of that show didn't show that they can have they're full human being, they're human beings. And so same with Coach Boone, he's just very like one note
Yeah.
essentially in this movie, very strong and you know, hard on the players, but they don't show the other layers. They don't really show him too much with his family so that you get to see him as a full person.
Yeah.
While with Coach Yost, you see all of that. You see all the different layers of that. You see him with his daughter and being soft. You see him with the kids being soft with them. You see him being hard. You get to see him as a full person, while Coach Boone is kind of like a caricature of the strong Black man.
Yeah. Definitely.
Coach Boone was a old school, hard nosed football coach,
Yeah.
and that's what he portrayed.
Yeah. And so coming from the old man saying like that wasn't the fullest portrayal of myself, which sucks.
Yeah.
So now Coach Yost has his kids. They walk into his office and they see Coach Boone standing there. And immediately we have the fake character being racist as fuck.
Yep.
You have the kids being racist as fuck, just rude. And here again is a chance for Coach Yost to be like, yo, don't like everybody relax. He kind of says it, but it's not to say like don't say stuff like that. It's just like, okay, everybody, you know,
Yeah.
he's weak. He's so mad. He's so weak.
He's like, oh, he's in the room, so hush.
Right. We could talk about this shit later kind of vibes.
Yep.
Well, so this is around the time where we find out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Coach Boone is the head coach and Yost is demoted to assistant coach. Is that correct?
Yes. So because the Black community is so up in arms about the death of this teenager, the school board has conceded, or the town has conceded to saying, you know what, we'll have Coach Boone to be the main head coach and Coach Yost to be the assistant coach just to appease the blacks, you know?
Which, by the way, he's like, that's not me. I don't want it. Because you're
Yeah.
putting him in an incredibly difficult situation. And he knows it.
Yeah, like the fact, and like shit like this has happened, especially living in Texas at the moment, where we're just locking people in the Capitol building. But the fact that like it's like, oh, we're sorry this kid died, we'll give you a promotion or whatever, like to even leverage someone's life and justice for that life with like, oh, we'll give you a job. We cool now? Like what?
Yeah. And so again, the real Coach Yost in real life says a lot of the friction that was happening between him and Coach Boone was because not because of racial stuff necessarily, but was because of the school system at the time was a hierarchy of seniority.
Mm-hmm.
So when they combined the schools, it was who had the longest time working. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think that's how that happened. So he said it was more about ego than about race, about him having to be on like when he was head coach at one of the other schools. Which okay,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I've
I
never
guess.
met like a chill football coach. So I
Yeah.
could totally see like your strategy is different than mine and like I'm not going to work with this fucking guy that like is coming into my school and whatever. Like
Right.
I totally get all of that.
Yeah.
More so than like okay, you can have the job. Sorry. Like
So he, in the fictional Coach Yost, said he has a meeting with all the parents and the kids and says like, "Yo, I'm taking a year off. Okay, y'all will be all right. See you later."
yeah.
And the petition thing was actually true. That was something that really did happen. So the kids are trying to petition, and they were saying that they were going to sit out. So he was in real life and in fictional life saying, I want you guys to make sure that you can get into college and all this other stuff. So
Which
that
I
was,
can see like
yeah,
I want my coach to be my coach. Like I've
right.
been with him for 3 years or whatever. Like I totally understand. Even like I get starting a student petition or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that like made sense to me. The rest of it did not.
So also one of the things that is like a constant in this movie is that Coach Yost is up for being in the High School Hall of Fame. Guess what, guys?
There is no high school hall of fame.
There was no High School Hall of Fame at this time. There is one now, but there
Okay.
wasn't at this time. So
Is
this
he in it
too,
like
Was he
retroactively?
inducted?
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know, but this was bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so we start to meet some key players. We've been introduced to Jerry. He's the white linebacker. I have notes, David, so I have his
Sounds
position.
good so far. No whistle. No whistle on my end.
And the team captain, and he is like very egocentric, but as we find out through the course of the movie, he is willing to learn and more importantly, unlearn bias.
By the way, Gary is all American. Like he's a stud.
Yeah.
He is the man on that team. So that's where
They
that ego's coming from.
they said that the casting was not accurate because the real Jerry was way bigger. Like
Really?
not like just a diesel kind
Yeah.
of dude. All American because he was rolling over bitches. Okay. Like he was a big man. Hence why
Um,
he had all them bitches.
we also meet Julius, who is the black defensive end. He's like very stoic. He's quiet, but he's not afraid to speak up if there's some sort of
Conflict.
conflict. Thank you. And then who else do we have? We have Ronnie Sunshine Base. He's the new white quarterback from California. shows up with long hair, and then like who cuts his hair? Like, do they make him cut his? Do they hold him down and cut his hair?
They told his dad, so when he rolls up at camp, they tell him to cut his hair, and that's the condition for him to be on the team. But the real Ronnie said, first and foremost, my hair was never that long. His hair was actually just around here. And he said, again, because it's 1971, everyone's hair was long.
Yeah.
So when you see most of the players with like that buzz cut military hair, that does give much of the like 60s vibe, because it was such a problem in the 60s when people had long hair. Like you got bullied and stuff like that. With between the silent generation and the baby boomers, it was like they were bumping heads about long hair. Remember when the Beatles came out, was started growing their hair out and stuff like that? Well, when they came out, it was just like, why is their hair so long? You know? Yeah, so another inaccuracy. So that wasn't even really a thing that he had to cut his hair because everyone on the team had long hair.
When Sunshine was introduced, which is a little bit further forward, I did like his father, because initially when his father introduces him and he's speaking to both coaches, he says that he's a QB. And so Coach Boone's like, well, we've got a QB, so go check out another school. And one of the nice lines that his father says is that he did check out the other schools. He said he won't let blacks play on his team. The way that I see it, if these boys can fight a war together, they can play football together. So like I thought that was a great line in the film. And I'm sure there was a few who have already gone through integration, a la the military in this case, who already have experiences with other races, and they already have a different perspective. And so, that was just a great line to hear in the film in general.
Yes, it was very much, this is how you are in, like, use your privilege for
Yes.
good, unlike Coach Yo, weak ass bitch. Sorry,
Coach-
let me stop. I'm not talking about the real Coach Yost,
Yeah.
just the one in this movie, because I don't know that man.
Coach Yost was complacent. Like he was just he was not going to participate in it, but he was not going to really speak out about it
Which
too
I
much.
which I think is what aggravates me so
Yeah.
much. Because like, if you were to ask me who I trust more, which is wild, I trust a blatantly racist person more than a complacent white person that is trying to say that they're good, they're not racist, but you don't stick up, you don't stand for anything.
Right.
So you're just as bad or worse than the person. At least I know where I stand with that crazy biatch over there. But you're not picking a side. And you cannot be neutral with racism. I'm sorry. You cannot be like one toe in, one toe out. Like that's not how it works. Sorry.
Yeah. Agreed.
Coach Yost, bitch ass.
Where's your burn book, by the way?
Oh, I don't have it with me.
No.
Mental
Coach
note,
Yost
put
is
Coach
going-
Yost, a fictional Coach Yost in the
Fictional.
burn book.
Yeah.
Not the real one.
We also meet some other players. Petey Jones, played by Donald Faison. He's kind of the
Showboat of the crowd, of the group.
he brings levity to the film.
And at this time, I was at peak Donald Faison obsession. I could tell me nothing about that man.
We have Jerry Rev Harris, played by Craig Kirkwood. Louis Lastic, played by Ethan Suplee. He comes from a military family and he just wants to play football. It seemed like he was portrayed as having the least amount of biases coming in because he moved around so much.
So that's also fictional.
Okay.
The real Louis, one, they said he wasn't as big. That was one thing, as the actor. They also said that he was not a part of a military family. He actually lived in the town his whole life, and that he lived more on the outskirts. I don't want to say outskirts. He lived closer to the black side of town.
Okay.
So he grew up with a lot of the black players already. So he was already cool with them.
Yeah.
So,
Louis was very hard on himself throughout the movie.
He
yeah.
was.
He called himself white trash, and he just thought he was an idiot. And so, like, him being less racist is almost like maybe because of his circumstances. Like, he didn't see himself above anyone.
I would challenge that because I've seen some people with those same circumstances be absolutely vicious. But I really wish they would have just left it in the script. His real life background is that
Mhm.
I grew up in proximity to these people, so I don't have fear.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we
Mhm.
are cool.
Yeah.
And the army stuff, like they could have just left that to Sunshine because that was his story, you know?
Exactly. And that's
So
what
that
gave
was
his
weird.
dad perspective
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
of integration. So, who else? I think that was pretty much the main players.
Well, we learn about we know Jerry and Jerry's racist friend. What's his name? The fictional character. Ray, he's very consistently not budging about how he feels about Black people and not wanting to be in proximity or community with them. And we also meet Alan, right? Or does Alan come later? That's Ryan Gosling's character.
Yeah,
It's kind of just there in the
yeah.
He was
background.
there, yeah.
He randomly shows up in scenes.
Yeah.
But it's most
He does.
his biggest scene is during, so we have to train, and so we're all getting on buses together and we're going to Gettysburg, where we get the fantastic Gettysburg speech.
Which didn't happen. Not real. They did go to Gettysburg, correct? They did take a tour, and I think the tour was some 90-year-old man. But that
That
running
checks.
at 3 a.m., that Coach Boone speech never fucking happened.
Well, and
Sorry. I'm sorry. Also, that is believable because I cannot imagine a Black man getting on Gettysburg and talking about my brother, blah, blah, blah.
mm,
Because that speech of like, I'm hurting my brother, that was in the Civil War. That was the North versus the South. These are white men literally fighting their brother in the war, not including what happened to Black men who were promised freedom on the North
yeah,
if they were in the war. Like that's like a whole nother layer. So that's why when I watched, I was like, there's no way this man is making the speech for this bullshit.
yeah. Well, the emotional training camp scenes were set at Gettysburg, were filmed at Gettysburg College and the nearby National Cemetery because the producers wanted the cast to feel the weight of history while filming. Okay.
And, and again, it's the context from of a situation like when you think of the Civil War, what it was really about, and you're still putting it from the lens of white people,
Yeah.
which is wild shit.
Well, before we get to Gettysburg, we have to get on the buses and get there. And so Coach Boone, like everyone's just trying to sit with their friends, and Coach Boone is like, "No, players sit you sit with your position." So,
Which
Right.
which was
Offense and defense.
yes.
this was actually true. They were segregating themselves, and he did have to pull them out and do this. So that at least was accurate.
And then he also said, "Whoever you're sitting with is now your roommate for
The duration of
um
camp.
yeah." And so then that's when we kind of get this montage of like the Ryan Gosling and his little hoedown.
Well, that happens after the cafeteria scene, but I do want to rewind back to the fact that both Jerry, Tom and Jerry scene, where Jerry has the cojones to step up to Coach Boone and said, "This is how we're gonna go. We're gonna split the
Oh,
teams
that's
half and
right.
half, and you gonna do this." And Coach Boone tell him, "Where's your mom?" Points at her, says, "I hope you could take a good look at her because them boys that are on your team, those are your brothers, and who's your daddy?" Yo,
Yep. Sets him
so
straight real quick.
real fast, and then he does the bus scene, and then everybody you you do see the scene of everybody like getting ready. I think that the scene with Ryan Gosling where he's singing country is when Coach Boone has them all having to talk to each other, which is a different scene. Or were you talking about a different Ryan Gosling scene?
I thought it was, and I could be mistaken. I thought it was when they were showing the different pairs of roommates.
Uh, who
I
was his?
think that is a little bit later when it is after the cafeteria scene, because at the cafeteria scene he tells them that they need to start learning about each other, and they're going to go to 3-a-days until they learn all of their teammates, a little something about every single one of their teammates. And if they decided not to do that, they're going to go up to 4 days, and they didn't want any part of that.
And that's when you see Alan sharing his country music with
Mhm.
Blue, who's like, I want this to end now.
Torture.
But Alan does come into Jerry and Julius's room because Julius puts the infamous picture from the Olympics up on his wall of all the players on the state, what do you call them when they're getting
Podium.
their medal on the podium when they're getting
Podiums.
their medals doing the Black Power
Yeah.
sign. And Jerry complains like that he's not going to look at that this whole time. He don't want to see it, blah blah blah. And then they start physically fighting and Alan, who's always carrying the news, it's like fight and he tells everybody that they're fighting and that's when they get in trouble one of many times during this whole thing.
Yeah.
While they're at camp, Jerry notices that I want to call this man Will. I don't know who in
Right.
my spiritual line had a will that was no good to them, but it keeps coming up. Ray, Ray is like, I'm not blocking for Rev, essentially.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let him get hit. I'm not blocking for any of the black counterparts. I'm just skating through this season. I'm not participating because we slowly start to see Jerry have a change of heart.
Yeah. We see him get to know players as people
Right.
and recognize like this is now my team and we need to take care of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
If we go into the locker rooms,
Oh
we
yes.
do anything in the locker rooms?
That's when this was the weird part to me. Like Sunshine comes in, he's a little beatnik from California, but then he goes to kiss Jerry.
This scene, everybody on the team in real life said this never happened, and they don't even know why it was done.
Right. Like it didn't make sense in the context.
Well, it made sense because Jerry, when Sunshine slash, what's his real name?
Ronnie.
Ronnie comes out, he starts mocking him and essentially calling him homophobic names, or,
Mhm.
you know,
Yep.
and Ronnie then throws the ball and hits Jerry directly, which everybody now sees that he has a really good arm, which I feel like should have been the end of it.
Yeah.
It would have been one thing if Jerry kept antagonizing him and then he did that to kind of shut him up. But it does feel like what is happening and why is this happening? Uh, Or Ronnie could be a cancer like me and don't let shit go.
And that's true too.
From my perspective, it was all mind games.
Yeah, it
He
definitely
yeah,
was.
he wanted
It
to get
definitely
into
was
his
mine.
head and
Totally.
just keep him on kilter the whole time that he's around him.
And it did. He was a little off for a while. And also, Petey was losing his goddamn mind. He's like,
That
I
was
have to
funny.
know. I have to know. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Which I find kind of weird because I feel in the context of that time period, it would have very much mattered to every guy on
Yeah.
that team.
Hmm.
I mean, we're talking about race, but if we start getting into sexual orientation, that's like a whole nother Pandora's box of hatred
Yeah.
from both sides.
Layer on layer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rough,
Um,
tough football players.
Yeah.
so we didn't get many montages in this movie. Like even the football games were very like this game, then this game, then this game. It wasn't like a montage of
We did
footballs.
get a montage after, I want to say the third or fourth game when they just
Yeah.
start winning.
Okay.
We
Hmm.
did get a
But it was
montage
pretty
there.
quick. It
It
wasn't
was.
like a
Yeah.
When you,
typical sports movie where we just see
yeah,
5 minutes of montage.
you do see like in that montage, you see like the town coming together. You see hearts and minds changing. Everybody loves it. And the thing that irritates me about this is that many times sports are used in a lot of these movies, especially during the times where it's like racial unrest, sports are used as a way to bring people together.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, everybody's rising above that
Yeah,
because
because like
you play real good football.
people who have that so ingrained in them, it takes years to unlearn all of those things, not just like a football season and then we're like, "Oh, they said you're good, we're good."
Yeah, I think that also goes with that plays into the stereotypes that Black people are fine when they're playing sports,
Hmm.
when they're entertaining us, when
Yes.
they're singing and dancing, shucking and jiving. But then when they're whole people and they're talking about their experiences, and then it becomes a LeBron James shut up and dribble moment.
Yeah.
And we're in 2025 and we're still experiencing that kind of thing. So in the context of this movie, it's just one of those examples of how you can be totally fine with us as long as we're in these boxes,
Right.
which I think was one of the things that was making me very emotional watching the movie, which is just like I cannot believe. I think one of the hardest things about being Black in America is not just like the racism, but the propaganda that I too have to unlearn. Like, I'm Black, I know these things, and I still have to unlearn the things that have been kind of fed to me as
Right.
well, which just sucks in
Yeah.
general.
So we see the team comes home, they're unified, they're one team, but the town is still not accepting of this integrated football team. So we see examples of racism, like we had mentioned earlier, Sunshine taking them to a diner and the Black players were not welcome inside. Jerry's girlfriend.
That bitch, I mean,
I'm
let
a,
me tell you, I'd have rocked her shit, okay? I put my hand out to shake your hand, and you look at me, bitch. Crazy.
Mm.
Kate Bosworth did her thing because I hated that bitch for a while. And then you want to come to me later on to shake my hand? I'd be like, bitch, get out of here. Like, there's no way. I don't care if Jerry's in the hospital. Get the fuck out of here.
I love your man, not you.
Right.
And then we see what was the maybe David could take the lead on this. What was the thing that Coach Yost did with Petey? Was it Petey?
Yep.
Okay.
So, PD, well,
Yeah.
go ahead. What do you want to
No,
say?
no, go ahead. I'll tell you after. Sorry.
Well, so PD just wasn't performing. So,
But Petey was on
for Coach,
offense.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So he was with Coach Boone. So on the offense, he just wasn't performing. His biggest thing was fumbling the ball, fumbling the football. That's the one thing that you cannot do under Coach Boone is fumble the football. And sure enough, this is what happens to him. So Petey doesn't take he doesn't take the way that Coach Boone, how he's a hard nose. He doesn't take instruction well that way. He's not designed to take it, and so he can't handle that type of coaching. And Coach Yost recognizes this, and he recognizes this in multiple players in a future conversation he has with Coach Boone. But when Coach Boone benches him, Coach Yost immediately goes over and tells Petey to cover number 23 because
He was too fast for
Allen,
Allen.
yeah, Ryan Gosling, he just couldn't keep up with him and he was getting crushed. So he had to make an adjustment to make sure that they just wouldn't get destroyed on the defensive end.
The daddy of Allen, who was pissed that they were taking Allen out, that actually did happen, but it didn't they said it didn't happen in the stands, that he cussed out Coach Yost privately about it. But he was just like, it is what it is. I really do love that Coach Boone the next day calls out Coach Yost for him coddling Petey, because essentially this is kind of like a microaggression without Coach Yost really being like, he's not aware that he's doing it,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So a story that I always tell is that when I was in fourth grade, I moved to Florida. I grew up in New York, and it was predominantly mixed, black, white, Asian, Muslim. Like it was just a melting pot. So I never really felt othered. But when I moved to Coral Springs, I was the only black person, not just in my class. I was like the only black person in the whole fourth grade. Like I could not recall seeing another black person, which was culture shock to me. We also had grades while in New York, we hadn't gotten to that level yet. We were still on like satisfactory, whatever. And I remember everybody in my class was getting like A's and B's, but I was getting C's. I wasn't keeping up in the class. I was struggling. I think just like culture shock, it was a lot of stuff going on. And I remember my mom asking my teacher, like, should she be concerned? Like, is this a problem? And my teacher was like, oh no, she's fine. Even though, so if you have a class and everybody's getting A's and B's, but the only student you have is getting a C, but you as a teacher don't think that's a problem, is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I never thought anything of it, and I don't think my mom did until fifth grade when I got Miss Williams, who was a black teacher, and she had been in the school system for so long, and I was her first like black student. When I tell you, Miss Williams had her foot up my ass. Oh, I was like, yo, we cool, no? Like, what's happening? And I just thought for sure Miss Williams hated me and she just was pushing and writing and pushing and writing, and I couldn't understand
Oh, she was
why.
an auntie for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I started to get on a roll.
Yeah.
A's, B's. I was beating the rest of the kids in my class. And what I realized and what I'm always forever thankful, like my mom will always tell me I'm smart. The people in my family will tell me I'm smart, but to have someone who isn't related to me to push me and tell me and show me my potential, and what she was doing was like really giving me confidence, because you kind of need it to be going to school with all these white kids, right? And what Miss Kelly did was infantilize me.
Yeah.
You know, to an extent, she might have also been giving me grace because I had moved, but after a certain time, you know, not the whole year,
Yeah.
right? And I think a lot of white people don't realize that they're doing that, but there's a little bit of bias and racism in that, because they don't expect you to be smart. There is a thought process that as a black person, you're not even supposed to be smart. So a C is normal, you know? And I'm not saying that's fully Miss Kelly's intention. I don't know that lady like that, but I've experienced it a few more times in life. So when I saw the scene with Coach Yost and then Coach Boone calling him out on that, he's like, You pulled Petey, you want to coddle Petey and some of the other black players, but you're not doing it the same for the white players when I call them out and I'm riding them at all.
Yep. He
And
named Sunshine at that point.
yeah, yeah, didn't have a problem with it with any of the white. He said Jerry and Sunshine. He's like, you don't have a problem with it, so you don't even see that you're doing that shit.
Yeah.
He was real quiet. Punk ass Yost.
It's also at this point that Coach Yost is offered the Hall of Fame if he kind of undermines Boone.
Right. Well, he's already nominated, and so at the ceremony where they celebrate the nominees, afterwards is where he's pulled aside by the top guys in charge, I guess. They're like, "Oh, well, back up. After camp, so there's a black counterpart from the town, I don't know, that talks to Coach Boone, and then there's a white counterpart from the town that talks to Coach Yost. And
Yeah.
so after they come back from camp, unbeknownst to everybody else, Coach Boone is told that they never expected him to make it out of camp. So if he loses a game, so if anything happens per se, any bad things happen, they're going to take him out and switch it back to Yost. So he learns that he has to win every game, but he never tells any of the players. He doesn't even tell the other coach. He tells nobody that this is what he has to deal with.
And by the way, he feels the pressure because they show him vomiting before the first game because he's thinking about his family and what'll happen if he loses a game. Like that's a huge stressor for him.
So the real Coach Boone, because we know all of this shit is fictional, this pressure wasn't real. He just always got nervous before games in general. And so he threw up after every game. I mean, before every game.
Butterflies in the stomach.
Yeah.
So, like I mentioned at the beginning of the movie, is narrated by Cheryl Yost, Coach Yost. I don't even know the word for her. Exuberant, and she loves the game of football. She stands up for her daddy, which like you can't blame a child for like ride or die. And oddly enough, like Coach Boone kind of takes the shine to her. I feel like their methodologies, Cheryl and Coach Boone's methodologies, are better aligned than like Daddy Yost and Cheryl's methodologies.
So the real life Cheryl did not like football like that. She went to all the games, but that was about it. Also, she never slept at Coach Boone's house or played with his daughters. And he said, the real Coach Boone said, which is sad because he wished that she would have. But that never happened either.
Yeah, because that was the scene that I was thinking about was when Cheryl is over and they portray Coach Boone's daughter to be more girly and like she wants to, it wasn't playing with dolls, she was accessorizing them.
If you could make a version of me as a child, this is it.
I had that immediate
Baby Danielle.
thought.
When she threw that basketball and she went like this and said, I just got my nails done. I was like, yes. When she was playing with her Barbies, accessorizing, yes. Yes, sure. Absolutely.
And I think like Coach Boone's wife is just cooking dinner. Like they're just having family time at home at the end of the day. And a brick was thrown through their window. And so, like, obviously, you see the terror of, like, oh my gosh, like, my kid was playing in the family room. Like, we're not even safe in our own home. My husband's just trying to do his job.
Now, was this scene fake or real? What do you guys think?
I know the answer.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the daughter was already not there, Cheryl. But I'm sure, I mean, yeah, this is common. This is something that used to happen in history, right?
Well, it wasn't a brick. It was a toilet. It was a commode
Whoa.
that they threw through his window. And the real Coach Boone said that it still haunts him to this day. He didn't have a gun in real life, so that scene didn't happen. But that really hurt him to the core. He's like, I can't imagine someone hating someone so much as a human being to do something like that.
Yeah. And the producers changed what was thrown through the window because they felt like the toilet would inadvertently get laughs. So they changed it to a brick to maintain the serious tone of that scene.
I don't know if it would have made me laugh. I would have been like, what the fuck? And
Yeah.
it's so big. Like,
Yeah.
imagine how, and I could imagine that they actually shit in it too. That's how
Yes.
horrible they are.
Yeah.
That was my thought as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is where we get kind of the scene after scene of just football. And they're winning
Montage.
and they're
Oh,
friends.
but the part that I forgot to say was that with Coach Yost, like you were saying, after the dinner or whatever, they tell him, don't worry about it. We're gonna get rid of the coach. They're playing this team, and essentially they're rigging the game
Mhm.
with the
Referees.
referees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is like supposed to be the climax for Coach Yost finally the line in the sand, like picking a side that he can't be kind of neutral anymore, seeing like being around Coach Boone and all the stuff. There is a heated conversation in the hallway at school after his daughter was at the house with the brick situation.
Yep.
And he's kind of telling Coach Boone to stop being so, to humble himself, stop being so boisterous and not having press conferences because he like calls out the people who did that to him.
Yep.
And he's kind of like telling him to small up himself essentially. And he's like, fuck that. Like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
come with the same energy. Sorry, you a puss ass bitch. And you want me to be a pussy ass bitch, but I'm not going to be one.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, with your ego, you're putting my daughter's life in jeopardy. And I love that Coach Boone's like, maybe you're just getting a small taste of what my children have to go through every fucking day. Like, get
Yeah.
the fuck out of here. Like
Yeah.
I did, so I did something for me to deserve this. Crazy.
Yeah.
Coach Yost was trying to say that it was his sins and it was his sins that was causing all this. And he just looked at him like, my sins are doing this. So,
Ugh. I hate it.
So
but
now,
it gave Coach Yost a different perspective a little bit once he's told him about his daughters and what his daughters have to deal with
Yeah.
regularly.
but it's, it's just so wild for me that he has to even say this shit. Like,
Yes.
why do I have to be persecuted and then still explain myself about this shit?
Yeah, like the fact that Coach Yost's knee-jerk reaction was, you put my daughter in this situation, instead of like the town that I grew up in, the people that I consider friends put my daughter in this situation, like, is wild.
Also, I mean, 1 + 1 = 2 because it felt as if that imaginary coach, after they had their breakup scene at the diner,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like it was him who did this brick
Yeah.
situation. So you, sir, put your daughter at risk
Yeah.
by breaking up with your racist homeboy. I think now is this big game, right?
Yes.
Well, hold on. Before we get
Okay.
into that montage and into that game that we're talking about, very funny, well, not so funny, but light moment is when Julius goes to meet Gary's family or his mother in particular. And then that's when the cop like slowly pulls up and he's nervous wreck. And the cop was like, best defense I've seen in 20 years, and just kind of goes away. And then, Gary's just like, oh, I saw your taxi had a siren on it. And, just kind of they're brotherly at
Mm-hmm.
this point where, they've been through the locker room, they've done the yo mama jokes, which Gary was ready to fight when he first heard it. But then he kind of started understanding that it's just banter and it's not serious. So, right here you can kind of see that they are starting to become closer and closer and closer to the point where Gary's bringing Julius over to meet his mother, who was again she wanted nothing to do with them as well. Any of the players.
How wild is it that this woman said, you can't go to the burg and play with them people.
Mm-hmm.
You come to church with your mother. Ma'am. Ma'am. I just don't even have words for it. But yes, Julius does finally meet Jerry's mom. But I think the thing that hurts me the most about this movie and what's fictional and what's not, it was finding out that Jerry and Julius were not best friends.
Oh.
They were friends, but not like this in the movie.
Right.
Broke my damn heart.
That's sad. This was a solid bromance.
Yeah.
It was. There's no Julius and Jerry for real.
Well, also because in real life, Jerry, R.I.P., he died.
He did die.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they weren't besties.
Well, now is the big game. And
this was the North Regional Championship.
And the ref was not throwing fair. Fair. The ref was not playing fair, and he was throwing flags.
The ref was not officiating fairly.
He was not.
This too was fiction. This did not happen. Coach Yost said, yeah, there probably were some racist referees, but this whole situation, the way that it happened, did not happen. Also because the teams were all integrated.
And there was no such thing as the high school football coach Hall of Fame.
Right, exactly.
And his daughter Cheryl wasn't in the stands screaming at him.
Because there were 3 daughters, and Cheryl was like, I'm at this game, but that's it, you know?
I just want my hot dog and my nachos.
Also, but yes, this is the scene where Coach Yost is like, oh no. And he starts becoming a hard ass, and
he threatens to the ref. He's kind of. Was it ever said what dirt he had on the ref?
That he was cheating.
Just that he was cheating. I felt like there was like, I know about your affair. I know what you did. And I will go to the papers.
I know what you did last summer.
Yes. I thought there was more to it other than like, because I feel like a lot of the townspeople at that point probably wouldn't have cared if the ref was siding with the white team.
Well, he said he was going to the papers.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, maybe the white side of town might not have cared, but the black side of town, who was already pissed, this would have fueled the fire. So,
man,
no.
I just wanted more dirt on the ref. Like, what you doing after you finish? You hang up your stripy jersey.
He was gambling on the games.
Oh yeah, that's a big no-no.
Yeah. So he tells him to start calling plays. The man's like, F off. So he's like, okay, well, I got to win this game the way I can. And then he yells at Petey like he should. And Petey gets butthurt and walks away. So Alan got to come back in the game. And yeah, they have to work their asses off, but defense comes in. Who did they bring someone else in once Petey left? I think I'm mixing up the 2 games, so I don't want to say what happens. I don't know if anything's significant, like if he pulls anybody else in. He just tells defense that nobody gets a damn inch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I found that scene very satisfying to hear the crunches.
You do love to hear the bones crunch.
I do. It's one of my favorites. So it was one of my favorite scenes to hear all the aggression noises of them like, stay down. You ain't getting up again.
You could have been on the Titans for just that one play.
Yo, call me Icebox. I'm up in this bitch. Let's go.
Hey, love it.
So then we see the run of the Titans just winning, and friendship between all of the players. And I think it's after this particular game that they're cruising the strip.
Well, they come back home because this is an away game. They
Mhm.
come back home and everybody's waiting for them on Main Street, I guess. And Julius is like, "Yo, I gotta be with my girl tonight," and because Jerry's like, I gotta hit the town." So unfortunately, Jerry goes by himself and he gets T-boned by a car. But this is not factual.
Right, because it was after.
After state.
Yes.
And it wasn't because it was because he had a malfunction in his car and the brakes wouldn't work or
yikes.
something. And so
It
that's what
wasn't
caused the
just
crash.
someone yelling his name and him lollygagging and looking and
Looking
not
at
watching
Yeah.
the road for too
right.
long.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
Ugh.
So all this time Jerry was at state. Yo, like I need a list of
That's
the
wrong.
factual things that happened that pissed me the fuck off. What you mean, Jerry was like
Yeah.
we didn't need we could have had Jerry in the game and then the accident.
Yeah.
Sure.
Whatever.
Because the stakes wouldn't have changed one way or another, and it
No.
would have still proven that he brings the team together in the end for his funeral.
And then they had to
Right.
play that damn song that breaks my heart. I always think of Johnny when I hear that song because
Cats
he
in the Cradle?
loves. No.
Fire and Rain.
Yes.
Yep.
Because he does love that song.
Yeah. And then while Jerry's in the hospital, Julius goes to visit, and the nurse is like being a cunt to him. And she's like, "It's family only." And
I don't think she was that bad. Was she? I don't know. I felt like out of all the racism, she was just like, it's only kin, you know. And he's like, what are you, blind, Gladys? That's my brother right there.
She didn't argue, though. I'll give her
Yeah.
that. She's just like, okay, come on in.
I don't get paid enough for this shit.
Yeah. And Jerry is pretty, he
Well
keeps it
adjusted.
positive. He's like, well, I heard that they have sports for disabled people. I'll just
The
go
Olympics.
do that.
Yeah.
Which my understanding is factual. He did participate in, I think he did shot put.
Yeah, he won I think he medaled. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said in the movie, they said Coach Yost trained him, but I don't know if that was true or not. But again, all of this happened later. So then we go to state. I guess it's supposed to be the motivation that pushes them to win because Jerry is gone, I guess. But they're getting their asses handed to them by this team. Also, the order in which the teams that they play in the movie is wrong. Also, the coach where they were playing that game with the referee and stuff, the coach went on TV and called Coach Boone a monkey, and Coach Boone throws a banana at him at the end of the game. That did not happen because that coach didn't exist, and that did not happen. Can't.
Oh, Lord.
Can't.
Inspired by true events at most.
Lightly sprinkled facts.
Yeah.
Suggested by true events.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was just double checking.
Yeah, I mean, in the movie, it shows them getting dominated, but by the time they reach halftime, they're only down 7-0, even though it just shows them just getting beat. But
Yeah.
so it's
Hearing
not
the
such a
bones
huge
crack.
deficit at halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is when the infamous speech where Coach Boone kind of just tells me, you know what, y'all? I know we made it all the way here, but y'all did a great job. Don't feel bad. It's cool. Which
So weak.
which does not feel like what the Coach Boone they've been portraying this whole time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of wild. But because he's like, even after Jerry gets hurt, he's still like, gotta keep moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a turn. But then
They
Julius is
have,
like,
yeah,
go
Julius.
ahead.
No, they just have Julius step up. I
Yeah.
mean, he takes over that speech and explains that they've been striving for perfection the whole time. And the way he sees it is that everybody's imperfect on that team, but together they're perfect.
Yeah.
So it was a great speech. Once again, it just wasn't from Coach Boone, which is so strange.
Right. And I love that little fictional daughter comes
Mm,
running up, said, Pa, this ain't the time to be with your ego, or whatever she says.
yeah.
She's
She's
learned
like,
lessons too.
yeah. She's like, you getting your ass handed to you, blah, blah, blah. So that's where he's like, Coach Boone, I'm getting my ass handed to me. So that's so Coach Boone's like, okay, everybody on offense play on defense. That's what it
Basically.
that's what it
Just
seemed like to
swap,
me.
like grab a partner, dosey do.
Sunshine, you gonna be playing both sides, because clearly.
He had like 5 or 6 players go 2 ways.
Yeah.
So
And that's because we learned in one of the games, one of the earlier games, when Rev gets hurt,
Mhm.
that Sunshine tells the players to, because we will. I know his name's not Will.
I almost called him
Will.
Jeb, which is also not his name.
Not even
Ray.
close.
Ray Sunshine. Got it. Ray lets somebody come through
Mhm.
and doesn't block Rev, and Rev gets injured, so he's out for the rest of the season, and that's how Sunshine ends up coming in. And this is like a totally old game. I just remembered this
Yeah.
part, but
Yeah.
he tells the team, "Don't block me. Let that dude come in."
Yeah.
And he throws the ball and he knocks that bitch on his ass so bad that his other team players have to hold him. I was like, come on, now y'all being a little bit much. Because it's hard for me to believe that Sunshine hit you that hard, but okay.
He got that shoulder low.
Yeah, so that's where we learned that Sunshine can actually play pretty much both defense and
Yeah.
offense. And so he comes in. But then Coach Boone realizes I need help too.
Mhm.
Because Coach Yost is like, that man got your number. He keeps on blocking our plays, essentially. He's coming for you. So that's when Coach Boone is like, okay, we're gonna play some trickery. Is
Okay.
that what it's
So
called? I don't know what that's
Yeah.
called, David. Is that a trickery?
trickery?
But I get you gotta do it like this. Some trickery.
Some
Okay.
trickery.
Must be. Some coaches might call it strategy, but trickery is cool.
Coach Coach Clark and Coach Conley, it's the trickery for us.
Yes. God.
This is why
So
David is head coach on this team.
so
Right.
I came in as assistant, but you guys are bumping me up around
I'm coach of special teams. No,
here.
I'm coach of defense because I like to hear the bones crack.
There you go.
They call me Bones.
So now we fast forward back to present day, closing the circle. We're back at the funeral. We learn that it is Jerry's funeral. He remained close friends with Julius until his death. Movie Jerry did. You good?
Bugs
And then you
life
see
over here.
Julius escorting Jerry's mom, so she has even come around to Julius. And then the closing credits show some titles pop up with like other information about.
What I don't understand, the thing that perplexed me the most in this scene was this is supposed to be 10 years after,
Mm-hmm.
so it's 1981. And why Julia's hairline so far back? Only I think now is this big game, right?
Yes.
Well, hold on. Before we
Okay.
get into that montage and into that game that we're talking about, a very funny, well, not so funny, but light moment is when Julius goes to meet Gary's family, or his mother in particular. And then that's when the cop like slowly pulls up and he's nervous wreck. And the cop was like, best defense I've seen in 20 years, and just kind of goes away. And then, Gary's just like, oh, I saw your taxi had a siren on it. And, just kind of they're brotherly at
Mhm.
this point where, they've been through the locker room, they've done the yo mama jokes, which Gary was ready to fight when he first heard it. But then he kind of started understanding that it's just banter and it's not serious. So, right here you can kind of see that they are starting to become closer and closer and closer to the point where Gary's bringing Julius over to meet his mother, who was again, she wanted nothing to do with them as well, any of the players.
How wild is it that this woman said, you can't go to the Berg and play with them people.
Mm-hmm.
You come to church with your mother. Ma'am. Ma'am. I just don't even have words for it. But yes, Julius does finally meet Jerry's mom. But I think the thing that hurts me the most about this movie and what's fictional and what's not, it was finding out that Jerry and Julius were not best friends.
Oh.
Mm,
They were friends, but not like this in the movie.
right.
Broke my damn heart.
That's sad. This was a solid bromance.
Yeah.
It was. There's no Julius and Jerry for real.
Well, also because in real life, Jerry, R.I.P., he died.
He
Well,
did die.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they weren't besties.
Mm.
Well, now is the big game. And
This was the North Regional Championship.
the ref was not throwing fair.
Mhm.
The ref was not playing fair, and he was throwing flags.
The ref was not officiating fairly.
He was not.
This too was fiction. This did not happen. Coach Yost said, yeah, there probably were some racist referees,
Mhm.
but this whole situation, the way that it happened, did not happen. Also because the teams were all integrated.
And there was no such thing as the high school football coach Hall of Fame.
Right, exactly.
And his daughter
But
Cheryl wasn't in the stands screaming at him.
because there were three daughters, and Cheryl was like, I'm at this game, but that's it, you know?
I just want my hot dog and my nachos.
Also, but yes, this is the scene where Coach Yost is like, oh no. And he starts becoming a hard ass and
He threatens to the ref. He's kind of. Was it ever said what dirt he had on the ref?
that he was cheating.
Just that he was cheating. I felt like there was like, I know about your affair. I know what you did. And I will go to the
I know what
papers.
you did last summer.
Yeah. I thought there was more to it other than like, because I feel like a lot of the townspeople at that point probably wouldn't have cared if the ref was siding with the white team.
Well, he said he was going to the papers.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, maybe the white side of town might not have cared, but the black side of town, who was already pissed, this would have fueled the fire. So,
Man,
no.
I just wanted more dirt on the ref. Like, what you doing after you finish? You hang up your stripy jersey.
He was gambling on the games.
Oh yeah, that's a big no-no.
Yeah. So he tells him to start calling plays. The man's like, F off. So he's like, okay, well, I got to win this game the way I can. And then he yells at Petey like he should. And Petey gets butthurt and walks away. So Alan got to come back in the game. And yeah, they have to work their asses off, but defense comes in. Who did they bring someone else in once Petey left? I think I'm mixing up the two games, so I don't want to say what happens. I don't know if
Um,
anything's significant, like if he pulls anybody else in. He just tells defense that nobody gets a damn inch.
Mhm.
yeah.
And I found that scene very satisfying to hear the crunches. When
You do love to hear the bones crunch.
I do. It's one of my favorites. So it was one of my favorite scenes to hear all the aggression noises of them like, stay down. You ain't getting up again.
You could have been on the Titans for just that one play.
Yo, call me Icebox. I'm up in this bitch. Let's go.
Hey, love it.
So then we see the run of the Titans just winning and friendship between all of the players. And I think it's after this particular game that they're cruising the strip.
Well, they come back home because this is an away game. They
Mhm.
come back home and everybody's waiting for them on Main Street, I
Mhm.
guess. And Julius is like, "Yo, I gotta be with my girl tonight," and because Jerry's like, I gotta hit the town." So unfortunately, Jerry goes by himself and he gets T-boned by a car. But this is not factual.
Right, because it was after.
After state.
Yes.
And it wasn't because it was because he had a malfunction in his car and the brakes wouldn't
Oh,
work or
yikes.
something. And so
It
that's what
wasn't
caused the
just
crash.
someone yelling his name and him lollygagging and looking and
Looking
not
at
watching
Yeah.
the road for too
right.
long.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
Ugh.
So all this time Jerry was at state. Yo, like I need a list of
That's
the
wrong.
factual things that happened that pissed
Yeah.
me the fuck off. What you mean, Jerry was like
Yeah.
we didn't need we could have had Jerry in the game and then the accident.
Yeah.
Sure.
Whatever.
Because the stakes wouldn't have changed one way or another. And it
No.
would have still proven that he brings the team together in the end for his funeral.
And then they had to
Right.
play that damn song that breaks my heart. I always think of Johnny when I hear that song because
Cats
he
in the Cradle.
loves. No.
Fire and Rain.
Yes.
Yep.
Because he does love that song.
Yeah. And then while Jerry's in the hospital, Julius goes to visit, and the nurse is like being a cunt to him. And she's like, it's family only. And
I don't think she was that bad. Was she? I don't know. I felt like out of all the racism, she was just like, it's only kin, and he's like, what are you, blind, Gladys? That's my brother right there.
She didn't argue though. I'll give her
Yeah.
that. She's just like, okay, come on in.
I don't get paid enough for this shit.
Yeah. And Jerry is pretty, he
Well
keeps it
adjusted.
positive. He's like, well, I heard that they have sports for disabled people. I'll just
The
go do
Olympics.
that.
Yeah.
Which my understanding is factual. He did participate in, I think he did shot put.
Yeah, he won I think he medaled. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said in the movie, they said Coach Yost trained him, but I don't know if that was true or not. But again, all of this happened later. So then we go to state. I guess it's supposed to be the motivation that pushes them to win
Yeah.
because Jerry is gone, I guess. But they're getting their asses handed to them by this team. Also, the order in which the teams that they play in the movie is wrong. Also, the coach where they were playing that game with the referee and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the coach went on TV and called Coach Boone a monkey and Coach Boone throws a banana at him at the end of the game. That did not happen because that coach didn't exist, and that did not happen. Can't.
Oh
I
Lord.
can't.
Inspired by true events at most.
Lightly sprinkled
Yeah.
facts.
Suggested by true events.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was just double checking.
Yeah, I mean, in the movie, it shows them getting dominated, but by the time they reach halftime, they're only down 7-0, even though it just shows them just getting beat. But so it's
You're in
not
the
such a
bones
huge
correct.
deficit at halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is when the infamous speech where Coach Boone kind of just tells me, you know what, y'all? I know we made it all the way here, but y'all did a great job. Don't feel bad. It's cool. Which
So weak.
does not feel like what the Coach Boone they've been portraying this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of wild. But because he's like, even after Jerry gets hurt, he's still like, gotta keep moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a turn, but then
They
Julius is
have,
like,
yeah,
go
Julius.
ahead.
No, they just have Julius step up. I
Yeah.
mean, he takes over that speech and explains that they've been striving for perfection the whole time. And the way he sees it is that everybody's imperfect on that team, but together they're perfect. So it was a great speech. Once again, it just wasn't from Coach Boone, which is so strange.
Right. And I love that little fictional daughter comes running up, said, Pa, this ain't the time to be with your ego, or whatever she says.
Yeah.
She's
She's
learned
like,
lessons too.
yeah. She's like, you getting your ass handed to you, blah, blah, blah. So that's where he's like, Coach Boone, I'm getting my ass handed to me. So that's so Coach Boone's like, okay, everybody on offense play on defense. That's what it
Basically.
that's what it seemed like to me.
Swap, like, grab a partner, do-si-do.
Sunshine, you gonna be playing both sides, because clearly.
He had like 5 or 6 players go 2 ways.
Yeah.
So
And that's because we learned in one of the games, one of the earlier games, when Rev gets hurt, that Sunshine tells the players to, because we will. I know his name's not Will.
I almost called him Jeb, which is also not his name.
not even
Ray.
close.
Ray Sunshine. Got it. Ray lets somebody come through and doesn't block Rev, and Rev gets injured, so he's out for the rest of the season, and that's how Sunshine ends up coming in. And this is like a totally old game. I just remembered this part, but
Yeah.
he tells the team, "Don't block me. Let that dude come in."
Yeah.
And he throws the ball and he knocks that bitch on his ass so bad that his other team players have to hold him. I was like, come on, now y'all being a little bit much. Because it's hard for me to believe that Sunshine hit you that hard, but okay.
He got that shoulder low.
Yeah. So that's where we learned that Sunshine can actually play pretty much both defense and offense. And so he comes in. But then Coach Boone realizes I need help too. Because Coach Yost is like, that man got your number. He keeps on blocking our plays, essentially. He's coming for you. So that's when Coach Boone is like, okay, we're gonna play some trickery. Is that what it's called? I don't know what that's called, David. Is that a trickery? But you gotta do it like this. Some trickery.
Some trickery.
Must be. Some coaches might call it strategy, but trickery is cool.
Coach Clark and Coach Conley, it's the trickery for us.
Yes. God.
This is why David is head coach on this team.
So I came in as assistant, but you guys are bumping me up around here.
I'm coach of special teams. No, I'm coach of defense because I like to hear the bones crack.
There you go.
They call me Bones.
So Now we fast forward back to present day, closing the circle. We're back at the funeral. We learn that it is Jerry's funeral. He remained close friends with Julius until his death. Movie, Jerry did. You good?
Bugs
And then
life
you see
over here.
Julius escorting Jerry's mom, so she has even come around to Julius. And then the closing credits show some titles pop up with like other information about.
What I don't understand, the thing that perplexed me the most in this scene was this is supposed to be 10 years after, so it's 1981. And why Julia's hairline so far back? At only 10 years. They're supposed to be in their 20s.
Some people lose their hair early, Danielle.
Girl,
It's
I don't
possible.
know about that. That was bone chilling to me.
Yeah, but I'm just giving you some perspective.
I mean, I get it, but it was a jump scare. I'm not gonna lie. But the only reason I'm saying this is because this is not a real 10 years jump. This is acting.
Yeah.
Somebody in the hair department cut that man's hairline back.
That is, we are the Titans, mighty, mighty Titans.
The thing that shocked me the most was you telling me all of them were clapping in unison? Lies.
How you feeling? Feel good. How you feeling?
That
Feel good.
also wasn't true. They did not. They said they would do a few little things every now and again, but they were not dancing. That was not factual. I was like,
Their whole warm up was fake too.
yes.
This is a work of fiction, David.
They were not dancing. And I thought for sure this was the inspiration behind the dancing, the football dancing, and Glee.
I knew we were going to bring up all the single ladies on the field in Glee.
Of course. They put together three of my favorite things: Glee, Beyonce, and Remember the Titans. Had to bring it up.
Okay, what other fun facts do we have going on?
Producer Jerry Bruckheimer should have known his bitch ass was behind all of this fake nonsense. He wanted to push for the film to have a mix of heart and crowd-pleasing sports drama, similar to his approach with Remember the Titans' Disney sibling Cool Runnings. Now I gotta go back and see if Cool Runnings was as factual.
Two different vibes. It was written by Gregory Allen Howard. It was his first produced screenplay, and he wrote it because he was inspired by the real events surrounding T.C. Williams High School in Alexandria, Virginia. He wrote Ali, Glory Road, and Harriet.
Girl, I'm shooketh to the core. Shooketh. What do you mean? Why was he lying? Sir, we deserve an apology.
Oh, and he did uncredited script revisions on Glory Road. Also uncredited script revisions on Bad Boys 2.
Gregory, come to the front of the class. Why?
Yeah. Yeah, he has 4 writing credits as of 2019. Remember the Titans, Ali, an episode of the Plug TV series, and Harriet, and then he has 3 upcoming.
Well, why he lies so hard?
Don't know.
I'm sorry, just like I can understand that you wanted to tell a story about overcoming racism or what. There could have been so many other things that you could have chosen. Like it is not making sense. But if Jerry Bruckheimer said he pushed for the film to have a mix of the heart and crowd-pleasing sports drama stuff, but that didn't mean this.
No, because you could have lifted like the racism storyline completely out of it and just had what sounds like to be more of the real story, which is 2 teams combining into one team. And like the adversary like stuff that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. So, and also I'm sure there was a team that went through integration that they could have talked about.
Absolutely. Yeah. It looks
Why?
like he writes stories about Black people in history. Like he has one coming out called The Magician about Marlon
Trickery.
Briscoe, a quarterback, and one called Night Witches.
Ooh, I like it.
Film will be based on the female flying unit that fought in the Battle of Moscow. They were dubbed the Night Witches by the frightened German soldiers because of the deadly stealth of their light planes.
I love it. Kill some
Cool.
bitches.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like he writes really interesting stories about interesting people you would probably never have heard of otherwise.
He did, like, honestly, he did a great job
Mm-hmm.
to an extent, but it's all fake. It's like just
Yeah.
they should have just called it fictional and just called it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Drumline is very much based on my school's band, but they made a whole nother story and
Yeah,
it was
like
fine.
yeah.
Ugh.
Denzel reportedly kept his distance from the younger cast during filming so they naturally treat him with respect and sometimes fear, mirroring how the players felt about Coach Boone.
That's cool. Love that for him.
The iconic left side, strong side chant was inspired by a real player camaraderie, but it wasn't exactly the way they portrayed it in the film. So that was the chant between Julius and Gary.
They said the soundtrack is a fan favorite, featuring period hits like Ain't No Mountain High Enough and Spirit in the Sky. The music was chosen to reflect the cultural backdrop of the early 1970s. And I would like to fact check that some of these songs, I don't know if they were in the 70s. Not those two, but
I looked not so much like I know the Temptations and all of that was earlier, but everything was right around the Cat Stevens songs, the Creedence Clearwater Revival songs. Those were all 70 or 71.
Spirit in the Sky, 1969.
Yeah.
What was the other song? That
Fire and Rain.
No, not that one. The one in the
Oh, Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
No mountain.
because I really don't think that one.
I feel like that might have been earlier.
Yeah. 1966.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, I'm confused.
Yeah.
What year is it? Not to say that you don't listen to classics, but
Yeah.
still not feeling 71 to me.
Some of the locker room and dorm interactions were partially improvised to capture the natural awkwardness and humor of teenagers from different backgrounds trying to bond, which I thought that was neat.
I think it was Daniel Faison when Gary's on the phone with his girl and she's waiting for him to say I love you. He had the greatest laugh at that moment when he heard that. I wonder how real that was.
I love that you combined his name and my name because yes,
Is that what I did?
I think so. Unless I'm just hearing that
I heard
we were supposed to be
Danielle.
married.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's
that was supposed to be
exactly
my
right.
last name, but then he married Jessica Simpson's bestie.
What?
Boo, tomatoes.
I mean, they seem to be happy.
Whatever. I'm gonna be a hater to the end of my life. It's funny because remember I said Coach Boone said that he wasn't, he was like, the real Coach Boone said he was really nice. He could be nice or like fun. The players said the real Coach Boone was actually a tough disciplinarian, and many players described him as harsher than the movie suggests. We all like to see ourselves in different viewpoints, I
yeah.
guess.
Maybe some self-reflection, Coach Boone, who I think has since passed. So,
Well, I mean, I think it could have also been maybe showing him beyond just being the coach, right?
Yes.
Like showing him in other parts of his life and even how he was interacting with the other coaches. Like it just never seemed like he was off. He was just this person the whole time. Before we get into the reviews, just remember to keep your hate to yourself because we're not interested. But if you have good things to say, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Threads, and Blue Sky. And we'll start with you, David. What's your today rating?
I'm gonna keep it at a would buy again. I actually watched this film twice. The first time just to enjoy it, and then the second time to take some notes.
Nice.
Jackie?
This is tough. This is like one of those movies where I wish there was like an in between 2 and 5 day. Like I will go 2 day. I wanted to really love it again, and it just knowing what grown Jackie knows now, it just wasn't deep enough for me. Oh,
I don't know.
see?
I mean, I had so much nostalgia for this, and when we put this on the list, I was stoked.
You were very much looking forward to this episode.
And I just cried so much watching this. I was just so viscerally angry watching this movie. I was surprised. I thought for sure, I don't know. You're right. Somewhere between 5 day and 2 day.
Yeah.
Probably 2 day. I'm not gonna watch it a bunch of times.
Y'all don't love sports like I do.
We don't.
I do love sports movies. I do, but
we'll have to do Friday Night Lights and get like a redemption football.
No, that movie sucks too. I love the TV show.
Okay.
I hate
I don't
the
know
movie.
anything about any of it. I feel like, remember when we were trying to remember, like, we needed to create a new category and we couldn't remember what that was for Mission Impossible? I think it was this movie wasn't made for me, was the like category.
That's for all of the Wes Anderson movies.
Yes. Well,
all great episodes.
Yes.
Oh, when Danielle, it doesn't happen too often that like we have the exact same feeling about a movie, but when our forces combine on like a Wes Anderson movie and we're both like, I'll tell you why this movie sucks. It's what this podcast is all about. Well, if you have, like Danielle said, no hate, but if you would like to call in, give your opinion, talk about anything nostalgia related, Blockbuster video stories, suggest future movies, talk about your favorite moments on the podcast, hit us up at our quick drop 909-601-6653. Twat us at the Twitters, hum us at the Threads, butterfly in the sky at Blue Sky, and you could be featured on a future episode.
We'll
Birthday
have time.
shout out to Kennifer, my husband. He puts up with a lot, has to watch a lot of shitty movies with me, and I love you.
Heart you, Kenny. Well, lace up those skates and get ready to groove. Next week, we're rolling into the disco-fueled drama of Roll Bounce. That's be fun.
It is going to be fun. And David, a pleasure. Thank you for joining us and knowing how to play and describe football for us.
Just being a coach is what I do.
And we're sorry that we pulled apart one of your favorite movies.
Hey,
I feel
it's
like
okay.
that is a pattern we've been doing with some of our guy besties on the show.
Maybe
Like-
we shouldn't be picking the movies we're picking.
Because we've done it to Nick. We just did it to Mike and Mike for Mission Impossible.
Yes.
Andrew
was with Dodgeball. I definitely was like,
I was talking about your Andrew and my Andrew.
Oh, Andrew. Yes, both are Andrews.
Yeah. Literally coming on here is a death swing.
They keep coming back though, so
yeah, it's not going to stop me. I'll be back. We'll get it right eventually.
Yeah.
And as always, be kind and rewind.